Recording in progress.
Oh man, you timed that so well for when I clicked start recording. That was
Beautiful.
almost perfect. Perfectly done. Very nice. Oh, it's been a while since we've had 6 people. I'm sure it will be chaos, and I love it. For your guys' info, we're coming off the back of our first
which ones are down south.
I have got you 3 south of the screen, and we're north
down south based on what we're on. Yeah. Well, it's also check the attire, right? Like some of us have had a 32-degree centigrade day, and some of us have maybe had a 32-degree Fahrenheit day.
Yeah, the difference between your nice kind of relaxed shirts and our hoodies and hockey jerseys is quite
and our pale skin as well.
I'm not any less pale than you guys. I get in the sun like twice a week, tops.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
What is this thing he talks of? This thing called sun. What the hell's that?
We get far too much of it. We'd be happy to send some your way. I just don't think it travels that far.
Doesn't go north of the border. Yeah.
It's lovely and grey outside. A beautiful, bright grey February morning.
Could we start a episode more stereotype for English people talking about the weather straight away? Okay?
Can we just clarify as well? Just in terms of ethnicity.
Here comes the Welsh card.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm playing the Celtic card, so
here we go.
So fuck off.
Well, I've got Cornish ancestors, so that counts as Celtic, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Welcome to the brethren.
Okay, there we are. 2 Aussies, 2 Englishmen, and 2 Celts walk into a podcast. There's a joke there somewhere. Let's dive straight in, shall we? Play the intro. Hello, everyone, and welcome to New Dice Please, the bite-sized Blood Bowl podcast brought to you by the people at Blood Bowl Live. My name is Chris. Joining me, as always, Mr. Scott Bryant. Scott, what is the first thing that you show off to people when they come into your house?
Assuming that I haven't met them before and assuming there are no legal disclaimers available, first thing I will show them is the dog.
I knew you would say the dog. I knew you would, and it's such a lazy choice.
It is because everything else will have legal ramifications. So.
But do you show the dog to people, or does the dog show themselves to people?
Exactly. See, this is what I was thinking. Is the dog probably greets people, so I don't think it counts.
I have to hold the dog off because she'll get too excited. That's why I have to show and present. Oh no, that's it, Your Honour. The defence rests. Shall we move on, Christopher?
Okay. Joining us also, Mr. Tom Hoffel. Tom, what's the first thing you show off to people when they come into your house?
Probably my amazing coffee machine.
Okay, that's
middle class.
that's a bit better. And joining us this week, we have 3 guests from the Down Under World Denizens podcast. It is Babs, Milzie, and Wiltz. I'll go through one after another. Babs, what's the first thing you show off to people when they come into your house?
They will automatically see the view of Gladstone Harbour from my massive big window that overlooks that. And then shortly thereafter, I'll take them down to the man cave where they can see my complete collection of Blood Bowl miniatures from the very first edition metal miniatures right through to my Bretonians and Tomb Kings.
Okay, you beat my coffee machine.
Yeah, that does beat the coffee. We also have Milzie. Milzie, what's the first thing you show off when people come to your house?
Well, mine's going to sound a bit nerdy, but it's actually my man cave. We actually don't use the front door of our house. We just come straight through the garage, which is my man cave. So the first thing I show them off is out of the 31 available Blood Bowl teams, I show them my 50 painted teams. So most people rave on about it and say how good they are. They've never been to a tournament and seen some actual decent painting, but I try to claim that I'm pretty good.
That is an impressive collection. I think that beats the number of boxes that Tom Hovel has on shelves behind him. So that's impressive. And Wiltz, Wiltz, what's the first thing you show off when people come to your house?
The first thing I'd show off would probably just be, I don't know, the TV, because it's right there as you walk in the front door. I've got a bookshelf that's got some painted miniatures on it, which is behind you as you walk in, so you have to turn around to look at it. But I generally don't have that many people over at my house anyway. I go other people's houses.
Fair enough. I'll take TV as an option. Mine.
Yeah, there was an assumption that people come to your house, wasn't there?
Yeah, that's true.
In fact, Mills is the clever one, right? He has no front door. There is no front door, so anybody he doesn't want to have over, they just
Well, there is.
figure
It's
out
just
how to
behind a
get in,
fence that he
right?
never opens.
Nobody knocks on his door because he hasn't got one.
I think mine would be the man cave or the pub that I've got in the back corner of the garden would be my option, which does have a nice shelf behind the bar with my if I've won a Blood Bowl trophy, so there is a couple of wooden spoons on there, then that's on that shelf behind there, so they're all kept nicely in one place. But we're not here to show off about things that we've got in our house. We've got 3 guests on the podcast, but we're not here to do any showing off. No, we've got 3 guests, so we are going to do a bumper hot takes episode with our 3 podcast compatriots here. We're going to find out what hot takes they have about the world of Blood Bowl. And let's dive straight in, guys. Why don't you give us what your first hot take on Blood Bowl is?
Okay, my first hot take is that I think humans are now actually better than they were before with the loss of positionals.
Hang on. Whoa.
So expand on that if you'd like my reasoning, or look, everyone knows I'm a Slan coach at heart and a Slan patriot. I think later on in this episode we might hear a little bit more about Slan and my views on those. But
let's focus on the human point, and then we'll loop back to Slan. I actually think you may have a point here, because lots of when the new human roster came out, there was lots of kind of negativity about the nerfing of them, and you've now got Bretonians as like a human alternative. But like for any human game that I played with, I dreamt of a strength 3 catcher, and now I've got 2 strength 3 catchers. I'm over the moon. I never felt like I needed 4.
yes.
So I'm really pleased with that, and 2 block tackle positionals as well are great. Like I don't know if I would still say they're more than jack of all trades, questionably master of none, but I think I would agree that they're better.
I never saw the value in taking all 4 catches myself, but certainly not having all 4 blitzers is a different style to get used to. I do kick myself that I never actually played the 4-guard blitzer ogre block team that I was dreaming about for a while, but oh well.
Mr. Hovel, what are you thinking on humans? Because you played humans a couple of seasons ago.
Oh,
Yeah, I played humans, and I agree with you that the catchers being strength 2 in the previous edition really hampered your kind of advancement in league, and also had targets on the backs when you played them in tournaments. And the blitzers, okay, they're now down to 2, but then the other big team, Orcs, are now down to 2 blitzers as well. So it's an interesting concept. I think it's definitely made them a more interesting team and a more sustainable team as well.
Milzie, what's your thinking behind it?
Oh, well, looking at, everyone mentions the strength 3 catches, which are just brilliant now, but in my tournament design for them now, they're not kind of actually catches anymore. So you stick 2 block on it, you've now got 2 8-moving blodging blitzers if you need them. Put that with your 2 standard blitzers who come with tackle, which that was always a skill you always had to stick on them when you went to a tournament. So now you can go for the different one. You can go for the frenzy, mighty blow, or whatever, or the guard route there. So you don't have to waste a skill by taking the tackle. It comes preloaded in, and then if you've got a tournament that allows you a couple of extra blocks here and there, a couple of blocking linemen become just a slower blitzer as well. So,
Babs, are you more tempted to take humans than before? Were they a team you would have considered anyway?
Oh, I love humans, but I'm not a fan of Sprue Bowl. So I do miss having more flexibility. I think the new skills have kind of already pushed you in a particular design direction, and you may not want that design direction. I know that some of the PR marketing around it is kind of saying, well, your team is going to be, mixed up. But I actually think, unfortunately, in tournament play, which is probably not what GW designed the game for, but in tournament play, I think that the flexibility of design options is going to be even more limited than it was before, and it was already pretty limited. So I'm not a fan of the change. That said, is the new team more powerful, which is what Millsie's point is? I think it could be. I think team captain is profound and significant. You get to put pro on somebody, and you've got this chance of getting a reroll back. When it really pays off, it's big. Having an extra reroll every half is pretty massive.
The team captain rule, I am somewhat terrified by, particularly this season. We've got 3 orc teams in our league, and the prospect of kind of unending rerolls for them when they already look quite terrifying is not something I'm looking forward to. Scott, if you humans aren't probably on your list there, I imagine that they're not agile enough for you. But what's your thoughts on the changes to them?
I think for me, agree with the guys what they said there. Straight out of the box, they're more middle of the road than a white line. It's that easy. They feel, when you just look at that roster straight out of the box, they remind me of what GW. It feels to me that GW are trying to do to humans here what they've done with Ultramarines in the 40k world. I think there are opportunities in terms of, yes, you can, if you take these to a tournament, what are you going to do? First thing everybody's going to do is stick block on the catches to the guy's point. So it does feel that it gives you, and we talked about this with BB Jock last week. We talked about it with other people. The out of the box solution, whilst it's there to sell more boxes and be for the casual gamer, in terms of the tournament series, sort of points you in one direction, so nice, like it. Block and tackle is always useful. Am I ever going to take them? Maybe to paint up a team, because aesthetically they're not too bad. They're pretty good. You can do a bit of kit bashing and some flexibility on them, but they're not gonna be top of my Christmas list, put it like that, and they're not gonna be top of my Christmas list for many years, because I'll just go around and nick a box out of Tom's house anyway. But apart from that, they don't get me going in the morning. Let's put it like that. I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Cool. Okay. Let's hear then your second hot take.
Okay, so my hot take is that the NAF or NAF are actually able to write official rules for Blood Bowl.
Scott's immediately having a chuckle.
I am already.
Okay,
I'm waiting for the presentation to the jury, my lord.
Give us the justification on this then. Let's hear your argument on this one.
Yeah, sure. I think probably the best way to do it is talk about a sports analogy. Now, I'm not a massive football nut, so I'm probably not the best person to explain this analogy, but FIFA don't actually own the rules for football. What they do, however, is they dictate what rules affect games that are FIFA branded games. So if it is actually a FIFA game, then it's their turf to write rules for. They have a set of rules, eligibility requirements. I believe that actually the World Cup, Euro Bowl, if you want to represent a country at Euro Bowl, you have to comply with FIFA's rules about eligibility for country. That's my understanding of how whether you can play for a particular country is valid or not is according to the FIFA rules of eligibility to play for a particular country. So what I'm saying is the NAF approve tournaments. They put a rubber stamp on a tournament. Now, you can run a tournament that isn't NAF approved, but if they are going to put a rubber stamp on a tournament, it should be according to their rules. And they write rules for what is okay and not okay. If the tournament is too outside of their parameters, for example, the NAF will say, I'm sorry, that's not okay to be a tournament under this particular classification. We may still approve it, but it'll have to be a specialist kind of version of those rules. Now, just to back the truck right up again, I was actually involved in the formation of the NAF back in 2002. And I want all our listeners to know, you know who actually came up with the idea of the NAF? It was actually Jervis Johnson. It was actually Games Workshop. They actually said, we want this organisation to exist. And they actually went about it. In fact, the name was coined by Chet Zashonsky, who was on the LRB committee back in the day, along with me. It was his idea to call it the same name as in the fluff. So not only that, but Games Workshop back in the day actually donated the very first set of block dice from their own foundry to the NAF to get it going. So the black NAF block dice with gold inlay, the block dice, that was completely donated to the NAF to see it get up and run. So, the NAF has actually been birthed out of Games Workshop. It was their idea. It was their initiative. It was Jervis's initiative to have this organisation. So I find it absolutely mind-boggling that people want to actually say, well, the NAF don't have any right to make clarifications to a rule set. Well, actually, the NAF have been really smart. I don't know whether you've had a look at the latest recommendations and clarifications document they brought out. Did you notice that there's a number of rules clarifications not there? What is it that they haven't put in? Anything to do with leagues. Why? Because it's not their mandate. They're about tournaments. So they've written a common language, a start point for discussion about how you should interpret Blood Bowl 25 in a tournament setting, which is what the NAF's mandate is. So that's what they've done. So I'm saying to you, the NAF is official in as far as tournament play is concerned. So is it okay for the NAF to say, well, here's a race called Slan? 100% it is. I think we'll leave another hot take about the pedigree of Slan, but I'm just saying, I think people get on their high horse and say it's not the NAF's role to write rules. The only time that has ever been said was one of the NAF president in their pitches to become president said it in one of the FAQ discussions. It's never been mandated anywhere other than there. It was just a discussion that was going on. So I don't know where everybody gets this idea about that it's not their job to write rules. I actually would say to you, if in some weird universe, GW invents some rule that is unplayable in a tournament setting, the NAF should reserve the right to say we're going to actually errata that for our tournaments. And I think they have every right to do so.
Now, I knew there was something about NAF coming, and I will hold my hands up and say that I know that we don't always get exactly things right here at New Dice Please. But what has annoyed me right now is how good a point you've just made. To the point that I can't really immediately find a way to argue against you. I guess the thing. So there's two things I that kind of come to mind for me. The first one is all three of us, like me, the length of time I've been playing Blood Bowl is not for it's 3 or 4 years. What year is it? 2026. Okay, about four to 5 years I've been playing Blood Bowl for. So compared to kind of the length of Blood Bowl, that's a lot. That's very, very young. I guess it feels to me, as someone who maybe hasn't been witness to both the NAF and GW existence for as long, not for a very long time. The point you've made there makes them sound much more connected than I think it feels like they are. So you've made a very good point where with the way that they're set up, the way that they're connected, the way that they have worked together, and how NAF came to be, is a very good argument for. I understand why they would say, well, you know, we're going to make these changes, we can do this, and you know, your point about league and tournaments and where they do step in and don't step in is very good. From me, who before knowing any of that information, they don't feel as connected as that, and I wonder whether that's where some of these questions come through, that lack of understanding of how connected the two organizations are.
Yeah, and I think some of that is opaque, and I think that's a valid point and potentially a criticism. But some of that is to protect the NDAs that exist. So there are people who are in the official Games Workshop playtesting team that are liaison between the NAF and Warhammer in a somewhat official capacity. I'm 99.5% confident that the NAF got a tip-off that Warhammer were not going to release a designer's commentary of any detail at all until May, and that's why they stepped in when they did. So there is a communication channel that goes on. I know that there is communication that goes to and from. Some of it I think is pretty organic. And obviously there's NDAs that exist. So the level of opacity that can be given to us, the plebs, and I'm one of them, is very limited.
Can I offer an in-between thought there for finding a middle ground that's not just the NAF can do whatever they want because they're awesome, and what the hell do we even need the NAF for? What are they doing?
Go for it. Go for it.
My personal opinion on what the NAF is and should be, which is most of what they're doing anyway, is they're taking a lot of the burden off of tournament organizers more directly. They're giving people information, they're giving people opinions, they're giving people a basic expectation level of what they will find at a tournament, what they can expect to find at a tournament, and just taking that load off the tournament organizers. Because I used to play 40k 30 years ago, 20 years ago, and every other tournament had its own separate FAQ pack because the Games Workshop FAQ covered less than a third of what people needed answered. So every different tournament organizer had their own FAQ, came up with their own lists, came up with everything themselves. Whereas if you've got someone doing that for you, even if you don't have to use it, it takes a lot of that prep work out of the equation. So from either angle, it's the TO can choose to use what the NAF gives them or not. It's entirely up to them. The NAF can approve their tournament or not. It doesn't really matter either way for a lot of people. Somewhere in the middle, everyone should be happy.
Yeah, I fully agree on that, and it's really interesting. And again, I put myself as a kind of newbie when it comes to Blood Bowl, with only kind of 3 years under my belt, 4 years under my belt, and it was great to hear the from my perspective the clarification that NAF is predominantly for tournament play. It's got it looking on their website. There's a little bit about league. Kind of locations in your area so you can get to have fun. And looking through those new rules, one of the things about the rules is it doesn't go crazy. It's trying to be as balanced as possible, but also give the tournament organizers flexibility. So in their actual new rule sets, they've got custom rule variants in tournaments are permitted and even encouraged to give each event a unique character. And I found that more and more going to some of the tournaments that they are now so varied. The amount of extra minis I've got because I've made their own little special superstar, or there's special rules around it. So for people to say, oh, how can the NAF just make up rules? Well, tournaments are making up their own rules as well. And that's even going far as league play. And I'll bring up the fact that we can't use prayers to Nuffle in our league.
Oh, Tom, you got to move on.
I know, it's good.
There'll be no moving on. Nuffle deserves their attention and our prayer.
Yeah, exactly. You know,
There's a trigger for everyone.
Whoever the league commissioner is deserves thanks.
That's really right.
Okay, so the other point of concern I think I have around NAF sort of doing their own FAQ is that if you're aware of the NAF and you're aware of what they do, you've had some kind of sort of connection, maybe you've been to a tournament or something like that, you will likely know that they have done something, know that they have released something. If you've gone into a friendly local game store, you've bought the box for the first time to kind of give it a try, you find someone at your sort of someone to play, and sort of they kind of have the NAF FAQ that is generally accepted as one to play with, but this brand new player kind of does not and is trying to interpret the rules. However, is there kind of, if you've got this connection between the two, when it comes to things like FAQs, should they try and work closer to make sure that if they decide to release one, that should the NAF have put some pressure on GW to do an FAQ? Should GW have said, we endorse the NAF FAQ until we are able to? I don't know. Is there something there that would mean that you could make these kind of things readily available to people who are maybe less aware of the NAF? Scott's got his hand up.
No, I don't want the toilet, but I just thought I'd throw my bit into the ring anyway. We've talked about the NAF on this podcast before. We've talked about the fact that they have a key part in the history of Blood Bowl. Dan's just said it as well. You cannot take that away as well. We talked last week in terms of the importance of, 2 weeks ago. Oops, Millsie's getting something from the garage. We talked about the need for, this cohesion. We talked about what are they going to do, and the sustainability, supporting the community, all the great stuff. You've mentioned the TOs there as well. For me, it's about this in terms of the ownership. Use the example of FIFA there in terms of the ownership. The one thing about football is everybody knows there is clarity. FIFA own the football rules. At the moment, for me, it feels a bit woolly grey area. There's not the clarity of who owns and who is responsible for what part of the Blood Bowl in terms of the rules, whether it's league, whether it's tournament. It feels a bit for me as if the ball is on the floor and you've got two players, one sort of each side, who's going to dodge in and risk the pickup without offending the other one. We talked about words there like connection. We talked about, Dan mentioned it, relationship. It's okay if NAF, have the right to errata rules. If they have the right, GW need to, excuse my French, either or between both organizations, absolutely get clarity, use the pot or get off it, make the announcement. This is the rule pack. This is how it's going to go forward. These are going to be the owners. All the FAQ, whether they come from GW or NAF, make it one, make it easier, make it simpler for the community, because at the moment we seem to be a bit of we don't know, and we've got to wait. NAF have stepped in because there is a gap and a recognized gap. Where's GW in doing it? Now, if it's GW's priority just to shift units and sell boxes which are based on an optimal sprue level, which are based on an optimal tooling and costing, which goes right through to the bottom line in the P&L for GW, fine, that's their prerogative. But for me, it's between the two organizations. Come on, guys, sit down, have a beer or several, agree who's doing what, clarify it, confirm it. We talk about, in organizations, you talk about responsibility, you talk about performance, you talk about trust. These guys need to start trusting each other, make the decisions, communicate that decisions, get off the pot, and just stop causing a lot of unnecessary pissing around for everybody else. Here endeth the lesson. Thanks. Sorry, I need the caffeine's just kicked in. I've run with it. Sorry. Yeah. When you give me too much time, I write down too many notes. See, and it's just like it's just therapy.
Look, I think one really, really important thing is to make sure if you are running a tournament, and you need to be concerned about the player who is going to come out of the blue and not be well connected with things like the NAF. So my one and only point really is make sure you've got the link to the NAF recommendations and clarifications document. And if you allow SLAN in your tournament, which you don't have to do, but if you do, then make sure you've got a link, or even better, actually have the roster in the tournament rules pack.
And go back to the point, if it's agreed and clarified to say that NAF are going to run all the tournaments. And if NAF say, well, actually, guys, we're going to go back to, so you can have 4 Dark Elf Blitzers, you can have 4 Gutter Runners, you can have 4 human catchers, as we've just looked, or 4 human blitzers. Great. But again, it just let's clarify it, let's confirm it.
Well, there's also no one forcing you to play the current rules pack. If you can find someone that wants to play Blood Bowl 2020, or I know there's people in the Crown of Command podcast community that are still playing 3rd edition.
Wow.
Go for it. If you can find someone that wants to play the same game as you, who cares which game it is?
Yeah, 100% agree. And that's where it is that it's at the end of the day, it's all about having fun and just having a great laugh. And yes, you've got tournaments and people take it really serious at almost that professional level with Euro Bowl and the World Cup and everything. But at the end of the day, it's a game that we should all be enjoying, not kind of constantly bickering about, oh, well, I'm using this rule set. Oh, I'm bringing this team because they've got an advantage over someone. It's got to be a nice balanced kind of game.
I think I feel really comfortable that Blood Bowl's in we're giving it so much attention as to who's doing what, and the NAF being there is only a good thing. Maybe there could be more. The two could work together. Maybe that's not something that GW are really interested in. Like Scott said, if their main driving fact is to sell models, then if someone else is taking the burden of other stuff and it's working, then why change it, I guess. But I just wish your point hadn't been quite so well put together. So, but look, let's go on to the next take then, which I think is probably going to be still. After a couple of weeks ago, anyone says the word slan in this podcast, and I get a small shiver at how many comments we're going to get telling us how wrong we are. So let's hear your hot take, and I've got a feeling it's slan related.
Well, Milzie will have his half a hot take here with the slan. Ribbit.
It's not a half a hot take. No, slan are deservedly need to be in the game, and I'll go right back. Through the history, so they were in the original 1st edition of Blood Bowl. They had a little cardboard standee, so they were there. In 2nd edition, they were a thing. They dropped out in 3rd edition, but then when Jervis Johnson got the Blood Bowl Rules Committee, which Babs was a part of, one of the final kind of things that was taking place there was Jervis wanted the slan to be a team again in Blood Bowl. So he put it to the team, and Tom Anders did quite a lot of work in making them what they are. If you looked at the original slan skills, every skill has the word dive, jump, or leap, because it all related to slans and frogs and jumping and so on. Jervis loved it. Jervis fully endorsed it. So did the Blood Bowl Rules Committee. Jervis took it to Games Workshop, and they said, look, we don't have models for this. We can't put it out. Now, there was some other background nonsense with lawyers and stuff going on at the time, but it was literally the point that they didn't have models for it. So the NAF picked it up and ran with it and said, okay, we're going to do this. And then every edition of Blood Bowl that's come out since then, we hear, no offense, you Johnny come lately guys that have only been playing for 3 years, not us old dyed in the wool guys, who may not have seen the slan. So everyone's saying, should they come back? And I actually corrected Babs and Wiltz on our podcast last week and said they're not coming back. They're just still staying here. And all the NAF have done, like we just chatted about it, it was the NAF have brought them in line, I suppose. They've dropped a couple of the positionals. Would I have done that? No. Would I have given them the skills that they've got? Not the hit and run, but I do take on the ball as the first skill on the catches. If you put 2 catches in your backfield with on the ball, you can catch any ball that lands in the back 9 rows of the field on a kickoff. So that is a skill I take. However, in tournaments, I just throw dodge on them and go. But we have other players in the rules now. Like we've got a pogo on the Goblin team. He can actually pogo, so people can see what the pogo does. We've got war dancers that do very similar with their leap. People may not have seen all 12 of your players doing that whenever they want at will, but as we mentioned with the NAF part there, all you have to do is put the rule set, put the roster in your rule set. People will see what's available. Oh, I might have to face this. What does that do? They go and look up pogo. Oh, geez, he can just do whatever he wants. Then there were people saying that they're an old team. They're 30 years old. Why do they deserve to come back? Well, until about 2 weeks ago, the High Elves haven't been in Blood Bowl since LRB days. So do we say the same about them and say, well, why should they come back? They haven't been in there. So I have no problem with people who don't want them in for personal opinions. I do think they're wrong, but I don't have a problem with those. My problem has been the argument that people have used to say why they shouldn't be in, and I have a counter for every argument there is. But and then one last final thing with going back to Jervis Johnson. The Both Down podcast boys did an interview with Jervis last year, about 18 months ago. And Jervis actually said his one regret of Blood Bowl was that Slan didn't make it in as an official team. So, if you've got the Godfather, if you've got the creator of Blood Bowl saying they should be in there, who can argue with that?
So I guess my question then is, I think there's probably not a firm answer to this, but I'm interested to know kind of what you think then is if the excuse given is we can't have them because we don't have models for them. You made a good point that there were kind of team of legends for teams that didn't have, there've been other teams of legends that haven't had models for periods of time, and eventually GW have made models for them. With High Elves is a good example. We've now got High Elf models, and we're now going to have a proper High Elf roster. So why do you think GW have not? If the excuses don't make models, we're a model making company. Why are we not making them? Why do you think they've not? Babs has his hand up.
He's key.
Yeah, you got to remember this was the LRB 6, where there was actually the discussion about there were 3 teams at the time they were voting on bringing in. Now, what were the 3 teams? They were actually Chaos Pact, which we know as Chaos Renegades. There was Underworld Denizens, or Underworld Creatures, as they were known then. Underworld Creepers, sorry. And then there was the Slan. Now, 2 of those made it. 1 didn't. Why? Models. And remember, Specialist Games at the time had to commission their own models, and that we had very variable model quality in that period of time. If you think about teams that came out after the Norse team, every other team, the Ogres, the Nurgle, the Vampires, the Pro Elves, Mark Bedford's amazing 2004 human team, some were brilliant, some were very less than brilliant. Scale creep or scale reverse, like the Pro Elves are a bit small, the Vampires are a bit small. So that they would have had to go through quite a long process to get official models made for the Slan, and there wasn't that time period. In fact, at the time we were making LRB6, we didn't know it, but Jervis did, that actually his whole department was going to be wound up at the end. So, there just wasn't the time frame to make that happen. 2 other points I just want to say is Games Workshop did actually give official permission for Slan. I don't know whether you knew that. That was actually for Blood Bowl 2, and said, you can have the Slan in Blood Bowl 2. We give you permission to do it because, remember, it's Games Workshop's property. It's their legal IP that the game is designed on. They have to get permission for every team in there. They gave permission, but they said you can't use the frogs. You can't have them as frogs. You have to do them as something else. That's where Kislev came from. And in fact, people have a fairly short memory. There were more people playing Blood Bowl 2 than Blood Bowl 3 2 years ago, pretty much to the day. So when people say, oh, we haven't had Slan for 30 years, well, hang on a minute. We had them 2 years ago as Kislev. And that's just a time period when Blood Bowl 2 dropped off and Blood Bowl 3 picked up. I mean, there are still people playing Blood Bowl 2 today in closed leagues. The other thing I want to say is, and we actually just covered this in our latest Down Under World Denizens episode 22. We interviewed James Hewitt, and he said, look, the design studio actually really liked the Slan because of their unique play style. It's very unlikely that they're ever going to get released in as leaping frogs, just because it doesn't fit the lore of the old world. But that doesn't mean they won't reinvent them. And now that's exactly what's gone on with Bretonnians into Imperial Nobles and Demons of Khorne into Khorne. In both cases, they've grabbed the play style and reinvented it in a new way. And I would, if I was putting money down, I would say sometime during the 25 edition, we will see an official Slan team, but they won't be frogs.
Ooh, that's interesting. If you had a request then, Babs, in terms of what if they're not frogs, what would you like them to be? Lore, thematically, would you like them to be just? I know this would give Chris wet dreams, but would you like them to be just a skinks? No sauruses, just a skinks
No,
team.
no. I don't know. I don't want that. Leave my skinks alone. Yeah, don't give my skinks
Squigs.
legs. They don't need the young legs.
Squigs, yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Squigs is fine.
No, it's quite simple. Don't make them frogs. Make them toads. There you go, and that fits in perfect.
Well, my favorite lore response is that the big fat Slan priest mage king people are really worried that their numbers are dwindling and they don't know what to do to make sure that the lizard men can continue to be a force that are united under the Slan. They're worried about their numbers, because they're literally croaking. So what do? They grab a spawning pool and they cast their magic on it and they try and get a spawning pool that creates new Slan, and it doesn't work. The things that crawl out of there, sure, they're frogs, but they don't have any magic ability. They're magically sterile, but they're very agile and they're really good at playing Blood Bowl. So there we are.
Chris, can I, on behalf of New Dice, please, right? We've talked about this. I can see other people laughing already, but on behalf of New Dice, please, right? I put this offer to you as well now to Tom. I am going to pick up the Slan Gauntlet. Yeah, I'll ask Mr. Hovell to print a 3D team from a suitable STL, and we will see where we go from it. I'll take it to a tournament. I'll see what I'll ping the guys to get a good list. I'll take it, and we'll see what happens.
You're not helping our position by phrasing that in a way like you're taking a bullet for us. I don't think
I
it's
am.
that bad.
But I am, Chris. But I am.
I think so. Okay. If Kislev were released,
they have a really unique play style, right?
If Kislev were released as an official team,
they have this really unusual, and I'd love them. Yeah, I would. And my other joke is that we know that Zeech and Slanesh are just around the corner. So maybe there's Slanish.
No. So would you guys then take a team? You've mentioned Slanesh, you've mentioned Zeech, you've mentioned Kislev. We've talked previously about Cathay. Would you take a team based on aesthetics and lore over playstyle? Or would you have to play a playstyle first and then aesthetics and lore? Sorry to take the topic on slightly tangent.
Well, I have done already because I painted up Snotlings
I'll
just
jump
because they're a
in.
fun team of models.
I don't know, Wilt.
I love my pump wagon. I turned it into a go-kart because putting it together the normal way was too difficult or too annoying.
Yeah.
And I've got my big river trolls stomping around the pitch and throwing Snotlings at people. Why not? I discovered a playstyle that worked with them. I don't know it's what everyone else plays them as Snotlings, but it's a style and it did work.
You're talking to a guy here that played Underworld, and my Underworld team consisted of penguins for the goblins. What do I have? platypuses for the Skaven. I had a little shark thrower. I had a bullfrog for the blitzer, and then a crocodile for the troll. So I like the aesthetic of how that team looked. I made up this ridiculous story that there was some old fogey, probably as old as myself, sitting around the billabong one day, and this sheet of parchment floats in, and he sees this. There's a new tryouts for a Bloodbowl team, and he's a bit dyslexic. So when he reads it, he thinks it's the Underwater Denizens team. Hence the reason why he went and got all of his penguins and platypus buddies. So I love a good theme. If GW bring back Kislev and put them in as that, I will play them with my frogs. I love the frogs I've got. And if you're looking for an STL, the Punga Slan team are amazing.
So okay,
Jungle Avengers.
To draw a line under Slan, just if GW released a Kislev team, would you expect NAF to scrap the Slan roster?
Yes, they would.
Yeah, I think
100%, just
they've
like
done
they
that
did with the
with,
Bretonian roster for Imperial Nobles.
Cool. Come on, GW, get Kislev out. Let's get this moving.
Without just a question for another day though, if you release Kislev, it'd be interesting. How would that be differential from Norse?
They've got long legs.
I'm not personally a big fan of it, to be honest. And I guess coming back to the other question, do I play a team based on its aesthetic? 100% I do. But there is a time to be a try hard, and there's a time just to play for lols. Your lols team tends to be more, in my setting anyway, tends to be more my league play. We have a lot of fairly inexperienced coaches in our league. I deliberately try and take a team that isn't particularly competitive just for the fun. On the other hand, when I'm trying to compete and make our equivalent of the Euro Bowl team for our state, which is the Ostbowl State Championships, you've got to take the team that is going to do the best, and you need every edge you can get because the caliber of coaches is so high. So there's a time to be a try hard and play the best of the best of the best, and there's a time fall in love with a team, paint it up in brilliant colour scheme, enjoy the painting element of the hobby, and just love the team and play it because you love it.
Now, do you have a five? There's three of you, so I think we can go to 4 hot takes this week. Do you have a 4th hot take for us?
I do, in fact, have a 4th hot take, and it's going to be sort of counterintuitive to a lot of people when I say this. But my hot take personally is that the Chaos team, other people might know it as Chaos Chosen, I just call it Chaos because it's the only one that existed back in the day. Chaos actually got worse in the new edition, is my hot take. A lot of people don't think that's the case. A lot of people don't see the things they've lost out on. And allow me to explain to you exactly why I believe this.
To hear this, I have a chaos team that I've been very successful with in 7s, but very bad within 11s, and I'm very keen to hear what your justification is for this.
Well, I've gone the other way where I've had some moderate success with them in 11s, and I've played them in 7s just because I didn't want to take the 2 different teams to the same weekend. So number 1, it might look like Beastmen are better, but they're not. Yes, they're 5k cheaper. Yes, they have Thick Skull. Thick Skull's really very marginal because if people are just rolling double 6s for everything, it really doesn't matter. The thing that they miss out on is they no longer have strength skills as primary access. And that's huge because for me, there's only 2 things a Beastmen do. Is number 1, they stand on the line and they take a hit. Or number 2, they go hunting someone to murder them. And if you're going hunting to murder someone, you're going to want Juggernaut to go with your Frenzy. You're going to want Mighty Blow to go with your Tackle. You're going to want any number of things, possibly even Guard to help shore up a corner of the cage somewhere. None of these things they're allowed to have, or it's just more difficult for them to have, as a Beastman. So on the face of it, they look a little bit better, but in my opinion, they're actually worse. And you then look at the addition changes of elite skills being taxed at a higher rate for leagues and being limited in availability for tournaments, depending on the tournament rules pack, obviously. What's the one thing that every Chaos Warrior needs before they're allowed to have fun? block. There's no block on the team. Who cares about armbar? You're not playing elves every single game. That's not relevant. Now, you can do random skills, you can do mutations, you can do all of these cool things, but you can do that after you've got block. You can't just go, oh, I'm going to have 2 heads on a Chaos Warrior. That doesn't mean anything. I'm going to have extra arms. Cool, someone's still going to punch you in the face. Once you've got block, you can add extra things to have fun. Once you've got these skills, which now cost way more, you don't have room to take the fun skills because you don't want to bloat your team value too much.
I'm inclined to agree because we have within our league we have a very it's kind of an infamous Chaos Chosen team that we had for a number of seasons. I think they had 5 back-to-back seasons with a couple of beastmen that just became these incredible blitzing pieces. Like I think they had increased movement, increased agility, block, mighty blow, tackle, horns and claws, everything across the board. They became incredible and a terrifying piece. And I think that they did take quite a few strength skills that when you kind of strip from them, they would still be incredible. But it did kind of take the shine off it. You sort of I had aspirations to create an equally incredible beastman, which I now can't do because I can't give them the mighty blow and can't give them the juggernaut. I'm inclined to immediately have a gut reaction of agreeing with you, but I think the two people who join you in a podcast just keep pulling faces as if they don't agree with you.
Well, I'll copy Milzie there. They're allowed to have their own opinions. They're wrong, but they're allowed to have them.
Yes.
No. I actually just want to pile on for a moment. I actually want to say, look, Wiltz has got a really important point in that when you think about all the teams, you know, which team is the very definition or epitome of all stat, no skill, right? Which team is almost all built into the stats? They have the most amazing stat line, but have 0 skills off the get-go. Well, it's your Chaos Chosen, right? Like, yeah, those Chaos Warriors are brilliant, but they've got no skills to start. Well, okay, they've got armbar now. Great, thanks very much. Not at all. The point is that, you know, as a result, this elite skill tax, and it is a tax or a limitation, is going to affect teams that are skill light much more than it's going to affect teams that already come with a bucket load of skills. So I do think Wiltz has a point here.
Yeah, like as I've said and Wiltz just alluded to, he's entitled to his own opinion. I think he's wrong. No, we've gone back and forth on this. He does put forward some very cogent arguments, though. So it's very hard to, or you can't disagree with the arguments that he put forward. You know, my argument is, well, they got more skills. Their rerolls became cheaper, but when you look at the access and what they actually need to be competitive, then in that sense, oh no, I'm agreeing with Wiltz. In that sense, they have gotten worse.
I think they're trying to force the Chaos Chosen team in a direction, just like Bloodbowl does it with other teams. I think they're trying to make Chaos teams lean further into those mutations and other directions. So they're kind of pushing the Chaos Chosen team in a direction. But as Wilt says, that's not going to be a more competitive direction. I think it's going more the direction of Chaos Renegades, which is wacky, crazy mutation fun.
Yeah, it's interesting because looking at the listing and you mentioning that, I hadn't realised that strength had been taken off the Beastmen. And I thought, well, what's their counterpart, their rotting counterpart, which is Pestigores? And obviously Pestigores, you've only got 2 on the Nurgle team, but they've still got strength as a primary. And from experience of yesterday in the first game of our league, playing against Nurgle, they've also got steady footing, which is a nightmare. But luckily I was using my werewolves, so it was okay. But they've gone up, they're 70k, and your Beastmen are 55. But equally, there seems to be a lot of kind of, you're quite right, that they're trying to force you to say you've got to play these particular players in a particular way. And a lot of the other teams have got a lot more positionals, whereas, let's be honest, the Chaos Chosen really only have 2, or in fact just 1 positional and lineman and a big guy. So it's an interesting way where previously there was a lot more flexibility with that strength as a primary. But you're quite right. I think they're just trying to force you down the let's use all the mutations and play a more mutation kind of game.
Scott, what do you think?
So I'm just writing the rest of my notes down. It's very interesting what we've all talked about there, because we've made sort of points. We've talked about Sprue Bowl. We've talked about various teams. We've mentioned humans on the cast today. We mentioned the slams. Oh yeah, these teams to do that. We could sit here and go through every single team and say this is where we feel that they need to be better or or improved, etc. The phrase was raised there, interesting, the need to be competitive. Why? Why do you need to build a team to be competitive? Why does every team have to be competitive? If you want, we've talked about there, you can have a league team, a friendly team, a tournament team. If you want to be ultra competitive in a tournament scene and try to be, really at the top end, go to the meta. Look at something like OWA if you want to at the moment. Go to Orcs. If you want to go for fun and go for the Gobos, just for that pure entertainment. Go for the slam. If you want complete bullshit, just go for something like Elves. It's just like So I hear it that there are frustrations with the way they've done for Chaos Chosen. My argument would be I hear that I've heard that for all teams and all players and all coaches that I've spoken to so far at the start of season 3. Yeah, I'm sure they'll get nerfed or something come round as well. So yeah, I can hear the frustration. I can hear the love for Chaos Chosen and maybe a feel of a disgruntled, frustrated lover. But hey, we've all got that for all of our teams. I'm a Skaven coach with 2 gutter runners. Check me out.
Oh, you're fine.
You're all right.
Really needed to anyway.
But that's not the point. If I could have 4, I want 4.
But in terms of the jilted lover, I think the point is that we want to see Chaos Chosen teams turn up at tournaments. We want people to play them. We want people to turn up with them. And it was already rare to see them at tournaments because of the limited skills they start with.
My other counterpoint would be that it's not that they have to be competitive, but they have to have at least an option to be competitive, even if you don't think everyone should take it all the time.
We said we have to give them a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Not everyone's going to take that chance, but it has to at least exist on paper somewhere.
I looked. I took Chaos Chosen to a tournament. It was one of the last tournaments I went to, before the swap to the third edition, the third season edition. And I was looking at various different tournaments on Tour Play, desperately trying to find kind of some ideas as to how to set the roster up, like similar rule packs, how to look at it. And I was talking to someone, and I was just like, I'm looking at all these. I'm looking at tournaments, and I'm just never seeing Chaos Chosen in the top half of the standings at the end. And he just sort of went, yeah, that there is a reason for that. And it is a shame, because I really like the Beastmen. I think they look quite cool. That's why I love them in sevens. And in sevens, I always run a all Beastmen and a Minotaur team, and that's so much fun on a sevens pitch, just to have a wall of 6 blitzers and a Mino who inevitably angers itself into uselessness. But it's I really enjoy it. I don't bother with the blockers.
Fantastic.
I do find it a real shame that I can just never really I can never figure out, and I've tried again with third edition. I've played some games with them, and I never feel like I'm going to get them to a point where I feel confident in how competitive. I think I like to play them because I see comparables, and this might sound odd. I see comparables with them with Lizardmen, who are my go-to, in that you've got your strength 4s, don't come with very skills, but they're a bit slower. And then your skinks don't have dodge, but they've all got horns and slightly more armor. So I kind of look at them as slow lizards in a way, but considerably more difficult to turn into something potent.
Can I just say though, just for the guys, and this is a small, and I mean a minuscule crumb of comfort for Chaos Chosen. Yeah, and I'm talking not just small, but minutia crumb of comfort. Chaos, the Chaos Chosen do have the best block animation in Bloodbowl 3. Yeah.
And they had some fun ones in Blood Bowl 2 as well.
Yes.
guys, there's 4 solid takes. I feel like I knew we were gonna be corrected somewhat, but if there's what on slan and naff, but if there is one thing if there's one thing we are here at New Dice Please, it is comfort in that sometimes we're wrong. I'll take that as a good takeaway for us. Yeah, thank you so much for joining us for those takes. If you have heard any of the takes from the guys from Down Under World Denizens, and you agree, you disagree, you sit somewhere in between, or you have a take you want to let us know about, Scott Bryant, how can people get in touch?
Christopher Coe, if people want to get in touch, they can drop us a note, usual place, usual address, newdiceplease@gmail.com. If they want to see more episodes of New Dice Please, usual places. If you want more Blood Bowl action, obviously don't forget the Down Under World Denizens Uber podcast. Check out the guys. I'm sure we can put links and, everything and pictures in all relevant places. Is Mr. Tom Hovell still there? Because he's gone black on my screen.
He is. He has his daughter at the door, who he is just talking to. So I think if you do Tom's bit while he is sat there dealing with other things.
Okay, right.
Milzie has a word for the
We're gonna
day.
come to that instead of Feeksy. I'm expecting big things now and potential libelous things, which makes it even more
Oh
exciting.
no.
Okay, if you do want to watch more or see more Blood Bowl, you can. Oh no, he's back.
As if by magic.
Go on, Tom. Tell us how people can watch more Blood Bowl.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so if you want to see us, you can see us on YouTube under Blood Bowl Live. You can, and also we're just starting off our new season with our league. So there's going to be games being played in store, so you can watch them all on Twitch and also on YouTube recorded under Blood Bowl Live. We are also on the socials under New Dice Please on Instagram and Blue Sky. And actually, I'm going to put a little kind of question to our guests today. Would you be kind enough to send some photos of those amazing teams that you mentioned right at the beginning of the session? Because I'm quite intrigued to see them. And would it be kind enough for us to put them on our socials just to let the rest of the audience see these fantastic teams that you've got in your man caves? Cool.
Yeah, too easy.
Fantastic. That'd be great.
Do check out Down Under World Denizens everywhere you get your podcasts from to check out more from the guys. Milzie, I'm so scared. What is your word of the day?
It's not that bad. I'm a school teacher, so I actually use this word with my students, particularly if they've been playing up. It's defenestrate.
Tom Feeks, if you're watching, this is what I want. Okay? It doesn't just have to sound like something rude. Please, what is? I have heard the word defenestrate before, but I can't immediately tell you the definition. What does it mean?
It means to throw someone out a window.
This is the.
So try telling that to your 12-year-old students in your class.
Well, on that fantastic note, thank you very much, Babs. Thank you, Milzie. Thank you, Wiltz. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, everybody, for listening. We have been New Dice Please, and I guess Down Under World Denizens, and we'll see you next time.